Hi, my name's Jo Kay from the Breathe Academy, and I'm doing a series of videos for parents in 2024. My first video was about kids going back to school and how we can support them. And this video is about sibling rivalry. For those of us with more than one child will no doubt at some point experience the pleasures of our children not getting on, not sharing, and maybe not being their best selves with each other. And it can be really trying. It can be very tiring, and it can take up a lot of our resources to handle that kind of conflict in our own home. Very often with sibling rivalry, it's interesting to reflect on our own childhood and what comes up for us when we're experiencing the rivalry or some conflict between our own children, because so often what we're experiencing is bringing something up in ourselves that maybe has less to do with what's really going on with them in this moment and a little bit more about where we are, how our upbringing was with our own siblings, if we had any. So for this video, it's worth continually just reflecting back for yourself on what arises for you when you are witnessing kind of discord between your children. But there are three things that I wanted to share with you that I thought might be supportive as a way to approach this type of situation. So the first one is compassion, because compassion is something that can be lacking when we're in a very frustrating, very trying situation, like watching our children not get on. Maybe they're physically hard, tough with each other. Maybe they take from each other. Maybe they're just unkind to each other. And that can bring up a lot of hurt in us. It's maybe not how we expect our own children to behave. And it can take us away from compassion, from feeling their pain, from understanding that perhaps some of this behavior is rooted in something other than just being unkind. Very often it's rooted in something else, some discord within ourselves, and maybe some sense of not being seen or heard somewhere in their lives, or just two personalities really rubbing up against each other that really we can't do a lot about. So if we can show compassion for ourselves in that situation and for each of our children in that situation, by understanding that this is a moment in time and it's difficult and we feel strong feelings towards that child, but can we remember all the things about that child or those children that we do love, keeping that in mind, and making space in our heart for what might be going on for them. So we maybe be a bit more curious as to why they're behaving in that way, and have compassion for ourselves and for our children for going through what is a difficult time. So that's one thing, and compassion can take the form of phrases that we say to ourselves, this is hard, or maybe perhaps towards the child, I see you, I feel you. You don't even have to say it to their faces. This is something you say within yourself, so you're making space to hold these difficult thoughts and feelings that are arising. The other thing to consider is acceptance, because so often there isn't a lot we can do when siblings are in a phase or have a habit of being a certain way with each other. And knowing that it will pass, these things do pass, as we know, phases within children's lives do pass quite frequently. But where there's some discord, sometimes the wisest course of action is to accept that this is how it is right now. And very often our frustration can come from our inability to change it, we can't fix it, we can't solve it. So if we move into acceptance that this is how it is right now, as long as there's no real physical danger, allowing the children to play it out themselves on some level and work it out themselves and kind of not get involved. That might sound counterintuitive, but they might begin to develop their own skills of working out their conflicts. Maybe giving them some guidance, but importantly, not taking sides in that kind of situation. It can be really easy to see the persecutor and the victim, or the aggressor and the victim in that type of situation. But bullies are always, or bullies as such, the persecutor, the more aggressive one, always has their own level of pain that they're also trying to deal with. So kind of bringing that compassion and acceptance to the situation can help us to see more clearly what's really going on for that child or those children. And that leads me to the third point, which is creating space to listen to each child equally as to what's going on for them and why they're behaving that way. Maybe not while it's happening, and maybe not just after it's happened, but maybe at a time when things are a little bit calmer, and you can maybe speak one-to-one to each child just to get a clearer picture of why are you behaving that way? How does it feel? What does it make you feel? You know, what are the thoughts in your head telling you about your sibling, about this situation? Perhaps getting them to see how they're being kind of behaving in a way that's not acceptable to the family. This is not how we behave. But by understanding much more about where they're coming from, maybe addressing some of those issues. But of course, resourcing ourselves in this situation is the most important thing. Remembering to breathe, plenty of time with hands on our hearts to kind of feel that this is really hard, not to underplay how difficult it can be with discord in the family. So those are three things, hopefully that might be helpful. Compassion for yourself, for each of your children, acceptance that perhaps this is just how it is right now, and that maybe one day in the future they're going to be the best of friends. You just can't necessarily see that today. And making space to talk without too much without the conflict with each child as to where they are and what's going on for them. So I hope that's been helpful. Please feel free to get in touch if you've got any questions or you'd like to explore this further with me. And join me for my next series. It probably won't happen in March, maybe now more like April. And we'll be looking at how to resource ourselves to meet the challenges of parenting and family life. So I wish you well.